What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles submitted to the channel by CallumOnToast, who's running a bit of a channel favourite in Shadow Cacturne, but is pairing it with a double pig backline of Pig Knight and Shadow Ember. But due to the backline being so completely useless in the current meta, she only sent in like 7 battles, which isn't really enough for me to make a video out of, so I've taken on the same team for a couple of sets to bolster out the video. And I have to say, CallumOnToast has managed to do something very impressive, because Shadow Cacturne might be one of the most fun Pokemon to run in the Go Battle League, as it's capable of core breaking and sweeping full teams. But this might be the least fun team I've ever tried to use with Shadow Cacturne in, and that is saying something, because for every team that is core broken by Cacturne, it feels like they're also triple strong into the backline. So even if Cacturne manages to take down 2 of the 3 Pokemon in most games, the backline ends up getting swept by like a Gastrodon or an Azumarill anyways. So yeah, it wasn't the most fun to play, but despite that, I think it will still be pretty enjoyable to watch, because there are some agonizingly close losses in this video. But anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Obviously, the Memories in Motion move update was announced for next season, so I want to know, which buffed Pokemon are you most looking forward to me showcasing at the start of next season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, and picking up a pretty tricky lead matchup for us, despite the fact that we do have rock coverage in the back with our Pig Knight and our Ember. This is still not a very good matchup for us, especially since they bait with a Flame Charge there, but that might imply that they're on Brave Bird as a secondary charge move, as if they were planning on swapping out anyways, it doesn't really make sense to go for the Flame Charge if you're running Fly. Anyways, we're going to go for back-to-back charge moves here. We are going to debuff them, so this might not get the KO. Rock Tomb is only neutral damage. We swap into Shadow Cacturne, and we get the perfect farm down. That is huge for us. At this point, they're going to come back in with the Talonflame. We could have definitely gone for 2 Sucker Punches before throwing a Trailblaze, but we grabbed the shield there, and unfortunately the opponent is going to snipe us down, but they come in with a Shadow Shiftry. Now this is fine with us. We can come in with our Shadow Ember, and the opponent is farming up to the potential Hurricane, so we're going to swap out, catch the charge move, and it is a full send of the Hurricane. At this point, we can go for a full farm down. We actually didn't even need to throw a charge move. Now we've got the Rock Slide loaded. This is going to be massive overkill, but it's double super effective. It takes out the Talonflame, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead. So they're on Mudslap here, so of course we are resisting it, meaning we can probably just shield once here, as they will go for a Poison Fang, and then go for a full Sucker Punch farm down. So the opponent is going to stay in. They do get us fairly low there with just resisted damage, but we've got so much energy. We're going to swap out straight away into Shadow Ember, and unfortunately for the opponent, they are kind of core broken here, as we can go straight for Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to grab the first shield from the opponent, and the opponent is going to have to full send a Surf here. Body Slam doesn't quite cut it for them, which means Rock Slide should be grabbing the final shield in this matchup. Rock Slide does exactly that. Shadow Cacturne absolutely loaded on energy. We can go straight for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is super effective. It gets the KO, and now we're boosted. Even though this is resisted damage here, Shadow Trailblaze takes out the Shadow Galvantula, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, picking up a tricky lead matchup for us. We're going to stay in, actually throw 1 Sucker Punch first before swapping out. Not really sure if we meant to do that, but either way, we're going to swap into Pig Knight, and unfortunately met with a Tentacruel. Now, Rock Tomb is at least going to hit for neutral damage here, but it is non-stab. It doesn't really deal that much damage, but we can double debuff them here, winning CMP before they get to a Scald. Now, unfortunately, this might actually mean that Scald doesn't KO, meaning they get slightly more farm, but actually they don't get a huge farm down. So now we can come in with a Shadow Cacturne and go for a Sucker Punch farm down. We're able to swap out, catch presumably what is going to be an Icicle Spear onto our Shadow Ember, but they're going to have a Dust Noir in the back. Now, of course, yes, we've got Shadow Cacturne. We can resist the Astonish damage, but I think we are just a little bit too low on our Cacturne already. By the time we come out of this matchup, they can basically just Powder Snow farm us down, and whilst, yes, we can go for a full farm down, we're not going to reach back-to-back charge moves, so we are going to throw a last-second Trailblaze, but it's GG's. All they have to do, shield the first charge move. We don't get to the second, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into next battle, picking up the Dream lead, leading into a Jellicent, and they're going to choose to stay in initially. They're going to swap into Corviknight, which is a little bit tricky for us, but we're going to come in with the Pignite. Of course, we are taking super effective damage from both the sand attacks and from the air cutters, but we can hit for super effective damage in return with the Embers, with the Flame Charges, and at this point, we force a CMP type, but we're going to shield here. I'm not so sure about this, because now the opponent can very comfortably outpace us. So yeah, I'm not sure if I would have used the shield there. We're going to no shield this time around, as they would have just fully, sand attack farmed us down at that point. We come in with the Ember, and we're just going to fully sacrifice it. Okay, so you can see our backline is quite tricky to play with, even though technically should have a somewhat neutral-ish matchup into Corviknight. We just got completely slaughtered there, but it doesn't matter because we've got Shadow Cacturne, and now we can full send a Dynamic Punch. The opponent does not make a catch there. Dynamic Punch gets the one shot, and we can just safely shield here. We don't need to throw. We can go for one more Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch gets the farm down up against the Jellicent, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see more Peko in the lead. So this is going to be a somewhat positive matchup for us in the 2-shield scenario, as we can just fully Sucker Punch farm them down. But actually, we're going to swap out into Pignite, tank the Aura Wheel there, just for them to fully farm us down. I don't think that was a particularly good play at all, because we just gave them even more farm there and fully sacrificed a Pokemon as well. But either way, we can now shield as they boost up their attack stat once again, but unfortunately still not going to get a full farm down. This should just be a Psychic Fangs, but they're double boosted, and even though it's non-stab, double resisted, it still would have done quite a lot of damage there. But their final Pokemon is going to be a Shadow Lapras. So we definitely do still have some play here, as we can grab a shield with the Rock side, and the opponent is going to throw. Now we need to overfarm a lot with our Shadow Cacturne here, potentially even grab a shield, or maybe go for a slight undercharge here, but we go for Trailblaze. They actually shield the Lapras. I do not agree with that play at all. We go for another Trailblaze, but can we outpace here? It's going to be super close. The opponent has not thrown yet. They throw on CMP. What are they doing? Well, the opponent has actually thrown the game rather than the charge move, as we go for Dynamic Punch, we get the KO, and we take that game. But into next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Kanto Marowak in the lead. So this is a positive matchup for us, but actually not as dominant as you might expect here. We kind of force a shield a Bone Club, because if we no shield and then they end up shielding their charge move, then of course they can just fully Mud Slap farm us down, and our backline really cannot afford to see the Mud Slap damage. So we're actually going to double shield. We did throw on poor timing there, so I don't really know why we did that. Either way, they come in with a Sableye, and again going for a questionable Dynamic Punch rather than the Trailblaze. We grab a shield anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, some strange decisions being made in this battle so far. Dazzling Gleam does huge damage there, but it is only neutral. We can tank it. We can go for Flame Charge, and Flame Charge gets the KO. They're going to come in with an Azumarill, and unfortunately, unless we reach a Trailblaze, the opponent swaps out there. Can we get there in time? No, unfortunately not. And unfortunately, yeah, there's just not a lot we can do here. Even if they don't have Hydro Pump, Play Rough going to hit for neutral damage here. But the opponent is on Hydro Pump. That easily takes out the Shadow Ember, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But going into, I believe, the final battle from Shenanigan Stone, and then we will see a few of my battles in the end of this video. Either way, we're going to swap out here. We tried to catch potentially a Swift there, which would have been neutral damage into our Shadow Cacturne. We met with a Blastoise, which we did kind of need to bait out, so I guess it works in the end for us. And here, we're actually going to go for a Blast Burn rather than Rock Slide. This probably does do more damage, even though it's resisted. And they're actually going to double shield their Blastoise. That is a crazy play on the opponent's end. But Hydro Cannon gets the KO. We could have gone for Trailblaze there. I'm not really sure why we didn't, but we're going to overfarm now, I guess, as the opponent is going to full send an Ice Beam, and now we're finally going to look to throw a Trailblaze. Now, of course, Trailblaze will definitely KO from this range. It's going to boost up our attack stat. They come back in with the Electrode, and I think we just have to shield here. We don't know what's in the back, but a boosted Cacturne is pretty good into most things. They come in with a Rapidash, but we swap out at the same time. We can now outpace them to the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb gets the KO there. They come back in with the Electrode, and even if they do full send a Wild Charge, we're actually able to just barely hang on with the Pignite, get the farm down, and we're able to take that game. Now going into my battles, we're going to see a Jellicent in the lead, and the opponent's going to Safe Swap into Furret. Now this is the great thing about Shadow Cacturne. It can completely obliterate certain teams, but then also like the backline is pretty useless, so it was very difficult to play, despite that Cacturne is such a fun Pokemon to use. Now this one, we're going to go for a Flame Charge here. Flame Charge, unfortunately, doesn't quite put them into farm down range, And I'm wondering if I no-shield a Swift, can they farm me down first? I'm actually going to use a shield there. They swap back into Jellicent, but we can now outpace to our Rock Tomb. And remember, we're boosted. Rock Tomb does decent damage, and it will force them to throw some energy. So, of course, Surf gonna get the KO. We can come in with a Shadow Cacturne, get the full Sucker Punch farm down, and they come in with Unova and Stunfisk, so they were just triple weak to the Shadow Cacturne. So we can go for Trailblaze, and at this point, the opponent has very clearly just exited out of the app here. Trailblaze does huge damage. We can Sucker Punch farm them down, and I apologize for this, but the opponent, there is literally a button on the top left of your screen if you're in a situation where you can just leave the match early. I don't understand why people still do this, but yeah, okay, we're able to win that game. GG's to that trainer into next battle, picking up a great lead for us as we see a Gastrodon, but this is where the team falls apart. We are triple weak to the flying typing. And we do have rock coverage with both our Pignite and our Ember, but still not a very good matchup for us. Now, we can go for Rock Tomb. We're going to debuff their attack stats, so what I'm hoping is that Rock Tomb will allow us to live a Sky Attack and reach another charge move. So I'm going to no-shield this. Sky Attack does decent damage, and Pignite just barely not going to get to another Rock Tomb. That is really unfortunate for us. And at this point, I have to just no-shield this. I should just barely live here, but the opponent gonna snipe with a Azumarill, and there you go. The team was triple strong into our backline. Yes, Shadow Cacturne is very good into both Azu and Gastrodon, but it just cannot sweep an entire team here because Altaria was just strong into the entire team. But anyways, we go for Trailblaze. We boost up our attack stat. We do get the farm down. They come back in with Altaria, and if they end up shielding here, I can actually take out the Altaria, but Shadow Cacturne just way too glassy to actually take on all three Pokemon here. So Dynamic Punch gets the KO, but they can just mud slap farm me down, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into next battle. We're going to see a Bastiodon in the lead. So this is where we want to see it. I guess if they do end up double shielding, then this could be quite problematic for me. But you know what? We're just full sending Dynamic Punch straight away. The opponent doesn't shield. It actually doesn't KO. But we get the farm down. And the opponent just instantly concedes the match there. So maybe it had double water in the back. I don't really know. Either way, GG's to that trainer into next battle. And another amazing lead matchup for us. And again, the opponent must be core broken. They swap into a Snarl Guzzlord. That is crazy to see. Dynamic Punch once again not respected. And oh my gosh, these teams, they are so weak to Shadow Cacturne right now. We're going to come in with the Pignite. I guess we didn't really need to do this, but I don't want to get too low on my Cacturne and then end up losing. So instead, we're going to swap into Pignite. I'm not going to bother shielding. I'm just committing to a full Ember farm down. We get a simultaneous KO. There's literally nothing that Golett can do, and so they just concede the match. So that is the benefit of Shadow Cacturne. Sometimes you can just completely run through teams, but sometimes, unfortunately, even though Shadow Cacturne is triple strong into the team, the backline is just so rubbish that you still can't manage to get the win there. Either way, we full send Dynamic Punch. This time they do end up shielding there. Not ideal. The opponent's going to swap out. They tried to snipe or catch a charge move onto Jumpluff, which was a very smart play there, but we can come in with the Shadow Pignite. They're going to full send Acrobatics, and I'm going straight for Flame Charge. Flame Charge is going to boost up my attack stat. It doesn't get the KO, but that puts them into perfect Ember farm down range. That is huge for me. Now they come back in with the Bastiodon. We can go straight for another Flame Charge. Flame Charge gonna be shielded by the Bastiodon, and they are gonna throw. So that does not get the KO. I'm actually just going to allow a full farm down here. We have the Dynamic Punch loaded, but I forgot what side it was on. No, I go for Trailblaze. Trailblaze doesn't KO, and the opponent able to reach a last second charge move. This one was just on me there. If I just remembered which side it was on, then we would have been fine. Whereas unfortunately, they've got Medicham in the back, and whilst, yes, Blast Burn is going to do huge damage, it doesn't quite get the one shot. If we still had the shield, we safely shield up Dynamic Punch, Ember farm them down, but unfortunately I forgot which side the Dynamic Punch was on, and we end up losing that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Azumarill in the lead, so a positive lead matchup for me. They're going to swap out into Bastiodon, and you know what? We are just full sending Dynamic Punch here. Dynamic Punch. Is it going to be restricted? No, it is not. It gets the KO. They come back in with the Azumarill. And at this point, of course, Trailblaze coming through is going to be shielded. However, I am now realizing we are getting fairly low on our Cacturne already. If the opponent wants to double shield, potentially, they just fully farm down my Cacturne, which is not ideal in the slightest. I'm realizing that is going to happen. So at this point, we are going to let Cacturne go down. Honestly, even resisted Sucker Punches gets them deep into the yellow health range. I'm fully sacrificed sacrificing Pig Knight here, as they will reach back-to-back play roughs. Now, I expect they're probably double or even triple weak to the Cacturne in the back, and so they have a Jellicent in the back there, but we do have a shield advantage as we fully sacrifice the Pig Knight. Rock Slide does just over half their HP, meaning I can reach a second Rock Slide. I'm going to get there before they get to the next Surf. I'm actually going to overfarm here, throw on the CMP tie, and of course, Rock Slide will get the KO from this range, and Azumarill is pretty much energy dry, so I'm going to be able to outpace them to another Rock Slide. And despite the fact that they had a double water team with Bastiodon, Shadow Ember able to sweep the backline there and able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into, I believe, the final battle of this video, leading into a Credilli. So, not a great matchup for me. I do stay in just to see if they're on Acid or Bullet Seed. If it's Bullet Seed, I probably would have just stayed in there. But we're going to swap out, and we baked out a Blastoise. So, we needed to do this. Not ideal for us, because Rock Tomb, obviously, not going to deal that much damage. We can't even two-shot them. But having debuffed them, I can actually just barely hang on to the Hydro Cannon and reach another Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to put them into range, or I can just Sucker Punch farm them down. So that's actually quite huge for me. They're going to come back in with Credilli, and I expect they're going to shield because they're going to go straight for a Rock Tomb. So I bait with Trailblaze, but they no shield. I could have just got the one shot there, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Clodsire. So at this point, I'm just full sending Blast Burn. Blast Burn connects. It does huge damage, and we do still have some play here, but they do a very good job of over-farming. So I'm going to shield. They go for a Water Pulse, and here, because they went for Water Pulse, that just completely threw me off. I forgot Water Pulse is like 50 energy these days, so I commit to a full farm down, but I've got no shields remaining. That is definitely a mistake on my end, but can we commit to a farm down here? We go for the Charge Shoot because I assumed they would throw straight away, waste some of their energy. Can we get the farm down? No, Shadow Cacturne, just barely not able to do so, and as a result, Rock Tomb takes out Cacturne, and unfortunately, I do lose that final game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.